So, the first uncomfortable conversation I wanted to tackle was grief. And actually, it was not first on my list. I kind of went back and forth as to what it would be. However, it seems like there is a season of mourning and a season of grieving. This year has been rough, period. It's been hard, period. And if you were like me, your family may have suffered some losses, your friends may have suffered some losses, you yourself, co-workers, that it just seems like it's loss after loss. In addition to the African American community losing really, 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 really great people who we thought would be here longer. So I really wanted to talk about just how to support people during their time of grief and during their time of grieving. Because a lot of times we don't have these conversations. We don't ask people how can we support them. We just, you good? Oh, okay. Or, I'm checking on you just to see if you're okay. And sometimes that, for someone who is grieving, can be off-putting. Sometimes they know that you're checking on them just to see if they're okay, and it doesn't always feel good to them. Some people do welcome that, but some people they're tired of hearing people ask, are you okay? I know when I was grieving, I got tired of people asking me, am I okay? No, I am not. I'm sad. And when you say that, it's uncomfortable for people to hear that, because what are they going to do with your sadness? So I wanted to have the conversation because we don't quite talk about how to help others grieve and how to help people mourn, or how to support them while they are doing so, just to make sure that they're doing it, obviously in a healthy way, but that they feel loved and they feel supported while they're going through. Number one to understand is that if anybody has never experienced like a close death or a close loss to them, grief is not a linear thing. It's not that you grieve for a certain amount of time and then that's it. It is cyclical. So the first year, I tell all of my friends, is the first year is the hardest, especially holidays, especially birthdays, anniversaries. All of those things are very, very hard. So if you have anybody who is going through, please check on them in those moments. Check on them in the days that you don't know. So, it's easy to check on somebody for the holidays, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, Easter, those days where we remember that family are gathering. But check on them for birthdays, check on them for anniversaries. Even their own personal birthday may be difficult because the person who they love so much is not there for their birthday. So it can be hard. And that there's no one right way to grieve. Some people do it by putting themselves into their work. Some people do it by just being quiet. Some people need time, and some people need people. There is not one way. We understand that there are unhealthy ways, but as far as people working through grief and working through those feelings of grief, there's not one way. And 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you can still be triggered by an event. You can still be, those feelings of sadness can rush in. You can look up one Christmas and, your tree may remind you. My tree always reminds me of my grandmother who passed away. So your Christmas tree may be something, or, years down the road, it might remind you of something. So it's not just one thing. Even after years and years and years afterwards, it can be a constant thing. So constantly checking on people, even years after the initial passing has happened, and even after you think that they're over it. Grief is nothing to get over. Grief is something that you get through, and you still carry that loss with you, no matter where you are, no matter how old you are. That loss still continues. So 3 things I would say to have an uncomfortable conversation regarding grief. 1, Do not minimize the person's feeling of grief. Do not minimize what they're going through. I know we hear it all the time, but it gets old and it gets annoying. Do not tell. Some people are not open to hearing, oh, they're in a better place. I believe in heaven. I believe I will get there. Does not mean that I necessarily want my loved one to be there right now. So telling someone that their loved one is in a better place sounds comforting. It sounds good. However, it doesn't always work with everyone. Some people may agree with it. Oh yeah, you're right. And then other people like, no, I want my mother. And I understand, like, that's a real feeling. Like, I understand that they may be in heaven, but here on earth, I am here and I want that loved one. So telling them that they're in a better place, or, they're no longer suffering, even though these are concrete things that sound good, they don't always feel good to hear while you're going through your season of mourning. So I'm not saying everyone doesn't like it. What I'm saying is, and also it gets redundant. If 500 people tell you that over and over and over again, after a while, you're going to get tired of hearing it. I'm not saying that everyone doesn't like it. What I'm saying is there are some people who will not quite like it. So if you can try to find other words to kind of replace those things of, oh, they're in a better place and they're not suffering anymore. While we understand those things, it doesn't always feel good. 2, ask how you can support. I don't think we always ask that. We may ask what they need, and we may, assume what people need. But to ask someone, how can I support you, gives them the open door to tell you what they need. So once again, when I was going through my season, in the beginning, I didn't know what I needed. And and it's okay. And my circle allowed me to make it up as I went along, where one week I needed this, the other week I needed that. Maybe I just needed that. Maybe I just needed this. So ask people, how can I support you? What can I do? Can we set a date for us to go out to eat every 2 weeks? Can we set a date for us to stay in every 2 weeks? Like, what can I do to support you while you're going through this time? Can we meet up at a movie? Can we watch our favorite movie? What are the things that you need? What are the things that bring you joy in these moments? And once again, the person who is grieving may not fully be able to communicate that, but maybe checking in every now and then and asking what you can do to support them could be really, really, really helpful to them. And also asking how they want to be checked on. Once again, I'm just checking on you. After a while can be a little redundant, and think about it. They may have about 10 people who are just checking on them. And we understand what I'm just checking on you means. After losing someone, it means I'm just trying to make sure you're good. So ask them how can I check on you? What do you want me to say? Are those words okay for you? Like, are you tired of hearing? I had to ask one of my friends, are you tired of hearing that? Because if you are, I can find new words. The English language is vast, and we can find other things to say, other words to just, hey, I'm checking on you just to see if you're good. The third thing is, don't be offended by withdrawal. Sometimes people need space. Sometimes they just don't want to be around people. Be alert. Make sure that the person is communicating with other people. We don't want people to go into too deep of a cubbyhole. With grief, we understand that depression does set in, so be alert. Be aware, communicate with friends, communicate with family, make sure that someone is contacting this person, make sure that someone is laying eyes on this person, make sure that they have a routine. But if they're withdrawn, if they just want to be to themselves, it's not about you. It's not an offense to you. Sometimes they just need time. Sometimes they just need space. Sometimes they just need that solitude. Please allow them that. We're not saying, let them go off and build a cubbyhole of grief, but just to give them that time, just to give them that space, and not to be offended by it. It's, it's nothing personal. It's just that's the way some people deal with things. And so you want to give them that type of space. So those are quick, uncomfortable conversation. As we go along, we will definitely delve into grief more and other subjects. This is a disclaimer. I am a social worker. I am not a professional yet. I do not have a license yet. If you need to see a therapist, please call a therapist. I will link some free therapy, not some free, but some therapy sources and some resources for seeing a therapist. If you need to see one, by all means, see one. I saw one for my grief. I suggest it for everyone, but this is outside of therapy. What friends and family can do to support someone who is having a hard time or who is going through a season of mourning. So go to therapy. I'm not saying that this is in lieu of. Go to therapy. And actually ask the person, do you need to see a therapist? Do you think you need to see a therapist? I suggest a therapist for everybody. When I go to a repass and I pull people to the side, baby, let me talk to you. You're going to have a hard time. But there are therapists. And I suggest that to all friends, family, friends, everybody. Everybody I suggest a therapist to. So this is not in place of therapy. I am not a therapist yet. However, this is just a few tips to help you help friends and family who are grieving. Or if you are grieving and your friends and family seem to be frustrated, disconnected, kind of reeling and not knowing how to help you, send them my video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you come back next week. We will have something else to talk about. This is Uncomfortable Conversations with Keisha. Have a great day.